Welcome, listeners, to the Lust for Life podcast, where you'll be joining a girl on her journey to discovering the depths of emotional intelligence. This is your host, Tennessee Reed. Welcome back, you guys. Once again, it's so great to have you all here. It's such an honor to be able to host this podcast, and it is definitely one of my favorite parts of the week, so I'm really excited to dive in today. Today is a topic that really resonates with me and is something that I didn't realize I always struggled with, but I do, and that is anxiety. When I was growing up, I thought that I was just a very stressed out. I was a worrier. I was just really high intensity, always thinking ahead. And when I got to college, I realized that this was anxiety. I actually learned this when we were going through our psych unit in nursing school, and we were learning kind of about a generalized anxiety disorder. And I was like, oof, I match all of this. Is that what I have? So I somewhat self-diagnosed myself with generalized anxiety disorder and started to kind of watch myself. And I realized that I was so worried about everything. I was worried about what people thought of me. I was worried about what situations would come up. I was worried about if I wasn't prepared in a certain situation. I was worried about the result if I didn't perform well. I was worried about everything. Truly, airports were my nightmare. I'm still working on that. They still are not my best friend at all. TSA just stresses me out, but I'm definitely working on that. But I truly worried about everything, and that is anxiety. When you are so worried about the future that you cannot control, and you're worried about every result, that is anxiety. And it has definitely developed over the years. It kind of started out mild, and it has definitely progressed. And it definitely peaked this last year for me. And that's when I was like, okay, action needs to be taken. And I've done a lot of self-development in this, and I've improved a lot, but I definitely have not mastered this, but I've come a long way, which is helpful for me and hopeful. At times, I felt ashamed that I had anxiety, and I felt like it was a weakness, and I felt like there was something wrong with me. There's something wrong with my brain. There's something wrong with me. And because I have this, I'm not as good as I could be. I'm not as powerful as I can be. And the last couple of weeks, I've had videos come through my Instagram feed, and one of them was Emma Stone, the big name actress, Emma Stone. And she was saying how she has anxiety and how she actually doesn't hate her anxiety. She's like, actually, I've gotten a lot of stuff done from it. It gets me up in the morning. It gets me doing stuff. It keeps me busy, keeps me on my toes. Yeah, it can be a little nagging, but it's somehow also my superpower. And I also thought that was really cool of her to be able to embrace that she has anxiety, to share with the world that she has anxiety and that she struggles with it, but there's also benefit from it, and she's using that to her benefit. So I thought that was cool that she's able to use that to her benefit, but mostly I just was like, Emma Stone, the big name actress, she has done some amazing things. And she for sure has fear in the back of her mind, but she's still able to do these amazing things. So I can too. I've always been so scared that my anxiety will keep me from doing and completing my dreams and completing these big goals of mine. Because I'm like, oh my gosh, my fear and my anxiety is going to just not let me do these things. And to see Emma Stone do that, I was like, that is so cool. Another video that came up this last week was Tom Holland. And he was talking about how he gets anxious before he, performs on set. And he has learned to turn those anxious nerves and the nervousness into excitement. And he's learned to teach his mind that Yes, I'm anxious, but that's good. I'm going to turn this into excitement and let it excel me forward. I'm going to let this energy that my body is bringing excel me forward. So it's just another lesson that we can turn anything into a strength. Yes, anxiety has been debilitating for me at times, and it's miserable at times and still is. I'm still working on it. Sometimes my husband's like, why are you anxious? And I'm like, I truly don't know. I don't know. I just feel like this impending doom sometimes. And I'm just don't know why, but it's something that I'm working through. But it was so hopeful for me to see these big names come out and say that they have anxiety and that they're able to work through it and they're able to still push anxiety and fear to the back seat while they're in the driver's seat. I thought that was so valid and so just resonated with me. It just gave me so much hope. Because truly, if you have anxiety, you have felt the debilitation, you've felt the helplessness of it. At times you're like, I truly do not know how I'm going to get up from this. And you have to rely on those backstops, and you have to get outside, and you have to get moving, you have to listen to good music, you have to listen to the good podcasts and the good audiobooks to reset your mind. And it's helpful when you know that others are going through it too. Yes, we have a culture that is self-help and it's developing, and mental illness is becoming more aware, and eating disorders are becoming more aware to everybody. But I also feel like anxiety is something that we haven't truly touched on. Yes, we've touched on mastering your mind. We've touched on all different types of self-help and building yourself to the best version of yourself. But anxiety itself, we have not truly touched on as a culture, and it still kind of has that taboo. It still has, okay, something's wrong with your brain. But that is like our body's physiological response to life. That's why we have anxiety. Our bodies are meant to adapt and survive, and we've told ourselves over the last years that these situations are dangerous for us. For some reason, we feel dangerous in these situations, like we feel danger. And that's why our minds have created these scenarios in our mind so that we're able to react promptly when they come up. We're able to react appropriately so that we feel prepared. But this can be so overwhelming when all we worry about is the future and we're not in the present moment. And we worry about things we can't control. And that's something I'm working on. And I've gotten really good at it. I feel like I've developed a lot of skills in that area. I'm not perfect. I don't think I'll ever be, but I've made a lot of great progress. I feel like anxiety can be a superpower, but it's a curse at the same time, because I promise you, I have envisioned every wrong scenario in every situation. Like, I have envisioned this so many times. I knew this was coming. Like, when something goes wrong, I'll turn to my husband and be like, yeah, I saw that from a mile away. Like, I already know what I would do in that situation, which is awesome when the situations happen 1 in a million times. But the other 99,999,000 whatever, that's just extra stress. That is extra stress we do not need. Like, for real, I'm not even joking you. The amount of times I have walked through in my brain, if someone was delivering a baby on an airplane, what would I do? Because I did work in the NICU in the past as a nurse. So I'm like, hey, I have a background. Like, what would I do? Would I clamp the cord? Oh my gosh, do we hold the baby in? Like, seriously, it's like that runs through my brain so many times. Or like, if someone's having a stroke and we're on an airplane and we don't have the medications we need, do I give them a baby aspirin? Like, oh my gosh. Like, seriously, I think about every situation. Like, I think medically, because I worked in the ER too. And so I'm like, what resources do we have? What can we use? Like, that's just how my brain works. And yes, if that situation ever happened, I'm sure I would be well adapt and prepared to handle it. But it probably will never occur in my life. And so I am literally, my cortisol is elevated from just visualizing these situations, and my brain naturally is such a critic. Like, every situation, I'm like, okay, first off, let's think about worst case scenario. What would I do? Worst case scenario, how would I prepare myself for this? And rarely does worst case scenario happen. Rarely does worst case scenario happen. And this mindset is the mindset that life is working against you. Life is working against you and not for you. So you are actually losing opportunities when you think this way. You are losing literal opportunities because you're closing off so many doors because your mind is so tunneled in so many different ways that you don't even have the capacity to look at other opportunities and evaluate, is this a good one? And sometimes when we make decisions in life, we don't really know why. Like why this is meant for us. We don't know why we want to do it. It is what it is. God has a plan for all of us. Like, I feel like in the past, I've tried to control my life so much that it has given me so much angst that I have been like literally sick, like sick in bed, exhausted, and unable to like actually live my life because I've been so trying to control everything that is out of my control. And I consistently like to think of the movie Forrest Gump, which I've referenced in the past, of there's this feather at the beginning of the movie and at the end, it's kind of enclosing this script. But this feather represents Forrest Gump and how he just kind of flows through life. And he doesn't really know the why he does things. He just does. He just does things because they feel right. And he doesn't have reasoning for it. He just does it. And he had this beautiful, beautiful life. And I like to visualize myself as a feather also. I may not know the reasoning for why I make certain decisions, but I am starting to know myself so well that something just feels right. And I just want to do it. And if my life goes well, and it has been, that is wonderful. And I'm so grateful for that. And if something doesn't go right, that is a learning opportunity. And there's a reason I'm going through this. There are so many avenues to how I can live my life, and there's not just one. I think we get so fixated on this is how my life has to look. This is the only way I'll be happy. This is the only way for me to find success. When there are so many different avenues for you to live your life and fulfill your purpose. There are so many different ways. There's infinite opportunities. So I've tried to shift my mindset of life is working against me. Everything is going wrong. My cup is half full. Instead, I like to think, oh my goodness, endless opportunities. Yes, this one didn't work out, but maybe that's for a good reason. This one just might. This one just might work out perfect. An example of this that happened to me the last couple weeks that I am really proud of for how I handled, it has shown that I've made a lot of good progress, and I wanted to share it with you guys. I interviewed with Duke University. It's a big medical university out here in North Carolina. And I interviewed for their nurse practitioning program so I can be my own provider, see my own patients as a nurse practitioner. And it was a really big application. It's the #1 nurse practitioning program in the country. And I was really, really excited to have an interview with them. And I genuinely do really, really well with interviews. I feel like I'm able to come to the opportunity and show my authentic colors and show my personality and have a great time with it. And this interview came, I had the setup perfect, everything was perfect. I made sure all my ducks were in a row and everything was set up, and the interview came, they asked me the questions, and after the interview, I just broke down crying because that was definitely the worst interview I've ever had in my entire life. Like, I just did not feel prepared. I did not answer the questions well. I did not feel grounded. I did not feel confident. The questions kind of threw me off. And it just genuinely just wasn't a good day. And we all have those days. We all don't perform at our best all the time. And at first I was really, really sad about it because I was really excited for this opportunity. I was really excited to advance my career and kind of take those next big steps. After I kind of gave myself a couple hours to cry, I got myself back up and I said, you know what? Let's go listen to your past episode that you made about control what you can control. You know, life's working for you. and let's rethink this. So I listened to that last episode and I took a deep breath, and it's okay. It's okay that I did not do well in that interview. It's okay. I learned that maybe I'm not the best in interviews and I need to humble myself more and I need to practice my interview skills. But I also, maybe this opportunity just wasn't for me. This opportunity was meant to go the way it went because maybe this opportunity just wasn't for me. I haven't heard back from the school. I have no idea if I got in or not, but I'm at peace with it. If I get in, great. Maybe I won't even go. Like, I maybe life switches and maybe I don't even go, but if I get in, like, that's amazing. And I know that this opportunity maybe was meant for me. If I get in and I still, shanked the interview and I still got in, that tells me maybe I'm really meant to do this. So whatever feels right for me. And if I don't get in, let's look for other opportunities and look for other ways that life is working for me right now. So it's just, I think changing my mindset of controlling what I can control. And if things don't work out, learn from it and look at all the other opportunities you have. And that has given me so much peace. In the past, about this interview situation, I would be an angst mess right now. But because I'm like, it is what it is, I just feel so at peace with that. And I love my brain for that. I'm like, finally, yes, oh my gosh, we made it. We're still working, but we made it this far. And I'm so proud of myself for that. And it's such a good feeling. So let's change gears here a little bit. Anxiety can be overwhelming and seriously feel like doom sometimes. Like you just can't get up out of bed sometimes. And you're just like, everything seems to be just in the pits, dark. Let's talk about how we get out of those situations. I've talked about this in the past with my eating disorders in the past and not eating good or not having a good relationship with food and how to kind of get out of this situation of just feeling in the dumps. For me, actually a nap really helps. A nap, I think literally physiologically changes my brain chemistry and kind of resets it. If I'm in kind of a turmoil state, it relaxes me and then I'm able to wake up and kind of restart. So a quick nap is able to kind of just give me a deep breath, calm the nervous system down. And when I wake up, I'm able to kind of reset. Another way that I help my anxiety is I close my eyes and I envision myself in a really, really happy place. And for me, that's Turks and Caicos. That's my favorite place ever in the whole world. And I envision myself at Grace Bay Beach, just laying in the chair, reading a book and listening to the ocean, the crystal blue water. That's my happy place. I just like to sit there and just think and feel the feelings and hear the sounds of the ocean. And it truly does calm my nervous system. It's all about calming the nervous system because we're in such a high state of anxiety at this point that we need to bring it down. We need to bring it down. We need to reset it. Another way that helps me is going for a walk with my dog or spending time with my dog in general. But going outside is really, really beneficial for me. Going outside, listening to nature and grounding myself. Those are some ways I like to kind of reset my nervous system when I'm feeling that anxious, high energy state. I'm definitely not perfect at this, but I've gotten a lot better and I'm excited to see where my progress goes. I would also like to touch on that I recently started some anxiety medication and I'm kind of seeing how it goes. At first, I was really, really against starting this medication because I felt like I should be able to handle my own brain on my own. I should be able to do this. And for a while, I really tried to do it on my own. And it was working, but kind of not. And so I just decided, what the heck? My primary care doctor was like, let's just give it a try. So I'm trying sertraline. And that may not be the one medication for you, but that's what we tried. And I think I feel a little difference. I think it's very mild, but it has kind of taken the edge off those really high energy states. It has really taught me what it feels like to be kind of neutral. And my fear was that it was going to take all my emotion away from me, that I wasn't going to feel those high highs, and it was going to take away the lows, but I was really nervous that it was going to take away those high highs, those high happy moments. But I actually felt like it hasn't. And I felt like I've just been more relaxed, and I've been more in this kind of neutral state, but I'm still able to fluctuate those emotions more regularly. Before, I felt like I was like up and all the way down and all the way up and all the way down, and it was exhausting. And so now that I'm on this sertraline, I feel like it has really taken that edge off, and I'm actually pleased with it. And I'm curious how it continues to work. I eventually would love to get off of it, because it's always good to try to get off medications if you can physically. But for right now, I'm really happy with it, and we'll see. Maybe one day I'm able to kind of like really wean off of that and teach my brain to reset those neurological pathways, and that would be great. But if not, for right now, I think like I'm really happy with this medication. And I just was nervous to take this medication because of the reasons I've stated before, but also it's really humbling to take a psych med because there's something wrong with your brain. I think that is really an unhealthy way of looking at it. And that's why I wanted to make this episode, because I don't feel like we've totally reached the point in society where we don't normalize anxiety, but it's an easier concept to talk about. I feel like we're starting to get there with other aspects of mental health. But with anxiety, for my own experience, I feel like it's a hard subject and it's vulnerable to talk about. And it was hard for me to even talk about it with my primary care physician, to say, hey, something's wrong. I need help. It was really humbling. And I'm really happy that this medication has helped. And so I wanted to make this episode because anxiety is such a common thing. And if you're struggling with it, then I promise you there's help. There's ways to reset our brain. I'm not perfect at it, like I've said in the past, but I'm improving. And it's really exciting to see that. And it's cool that people are starting to open up in our community who have done really amazing, successful things. So it shows that we can too. Even though there's a lot of fear and there's a lot of angst, we can master our mind and we can help bring that energy of anxiety into our work and make it work for us. There's a way to make it work for us. And so that's what I'm working on. I want this to be a superpower. It truly is a superpower in the fact that we can envision every scenario before it even happens because we've thought about it. But that's exhausting, so let's not do that. But let's bring that same energy into other aspects of our life and bring that superpower to life. So every weakness we have, there's something to learn from it. And that's truly what I'm trying to do with my generalized anxiety. And I feel like I've done a really great job at it lately. And I wanted to share that message with you today. If you're struggling right now with it and you have questions for me, please shoot me a message and tell me what's going on. Ask me the questions. I am no professional when it comes to mental health. I'm no therapist, but I can maybe share what my experience with you in further detail or smaller experiences that I didn't share today that maybe would help you. So reach out to me. If you enjoyed this episode, leave me a review. Let me know what you liked about it. I love reading the reviews every week and people telling me how much they love the show. It really is encouraging. But once again, reach out to me if you need anything. I love you all. Thank you for joining this week's episode, and we will see you next week.